I'm so glad you mentioned that because she's, in the very short space of time I've got to work with her, I completely value everything she brings to this extraordinary team. And I told the team a story the other day in her 100 cap celebration internally about a really profound moment I had as a coach. Denise and I had with her in the semi-final of the Olympics when Tiana was available to come back into the team, having sort of been out with an injury. And I never ever forget it. I said to her, "Look, I'm putting T back in the team," and she said, "No, completely. That's what you should do. That's in the best interest of the team. We need a left-footed player from this part of the pitch because of trying to break down the opponent, that it was better for us to have the most progressive passer in the team." She'd already analysed all of that. And she said, my role from the bench, whether it's to come in for T or anybody else, is a valuable one and one that I'm going to be ready for. But that's what I should be doing. And you and Denise now have to spend your time on getting T ready. And just want you to know that I will be ready. And I was just gobsmacked. Not because of how selfless she is and what a team player she is, but another reminder of how important it is to do work on yourself. And I often say this about our team, is that the more work you can do to better understand yourself in whatever role you are in, and something she has done a significant amount of work on in herself, means that she's prepared for almost every situation, starter or from the bench. And players teach us the utmost, and she taught me a lot about what's required in that position, but she took it to a whole new level, and something I wanted to share with the less experienced players about the value of not just that type of work, but that type of player who for many, many years has had a really tough journey, but she has come through each stage of that with the credit that she deserves. She's a marvelous human being and a brilliant teammate.
Go ahead.
You mentioned some of the less experienced players there. Obviously, given that both yourself and Australia have had very different starts to this tournament, how much are you relying on the more experienced players in the group to prevent complacency setting in?
Well, of course, everybody wants to compete. Everybody wants to perform to the best of their levels. But we sat with about 5 or 6 of the more experienced players to get them to understand where we are in our journey and the role that they play in this tournament. 1, to be ready for themselves, but 2, to how to help the team so that we can close the gaps in this part of our journey. And we sat through and discussed all the challenges that will come up in camp and some of the strategies that we're each to hold ourselves accountable to. There's things they want me to hold them accountable to, and vice versa. So I know that there's some really experienced heads that value that position, but also getting them to understand, look, we're 2.5 years away from competing, I hope, for a major tournament. So we help close that skill gap, and we need their experiences within that so they know what they need to do.
Let's go online to Mr. Tannenwald. Go ahead, Jonathan.
You have a lot of players who've played in, obviously, SheBelieves Cups before in major tournaments. But for some of the younger players, even those who've played in Youth World Cups, how important is the experience of the games in quick succession, as they will be at a World Cup someday? With the travel, you don't have a week to prepare for the next opponent. They just have to jump right into the next one. I know they'll get the scouting videos and all the stuff like that, but how is it important for them, like the Claire Huttons of the world and players like that, to have that experience, not just the on-the-field stuff?
I mean, like you said, a lot of them have gained that experience at youth national tournaments. Some haven't, like Lily, for example. But one of our objectives this camp was to do everything like a tournament setting. So even in the way we prepare, we treat it very much like it's that. And so we place a huge emphasis on the 22 hours off of the field and getting the best support to be best prepared in all of those situations. But I want to say this about the less experienced players. They're a generation of players who have experienced already, how do I best put it, the work that a lot of the more experienced players have had to fight for on their behalf. They're the benefactors of being in more professional environments at a younger age. Plus, I think coming through, a lot of them, whether they opted out of college to go into the pro game, or whether they are able to receive the support, whether it be analysis, medical, in a more profound way. So, if anything, they've been exposed to more things at a younger age, and I think they're better prepared as a result of it. I think the real challenge for someone like me in my position is that as a result of the things they benefit from, they're also exposed to more things off of the pitch, social media wise, managing pressure in different ways at an earlier age. So we have to lean into how we best support them on those things. And I certainly experienced that the other day, knowing that a lot of players were going in for their first cap. So I could see, the pressures of that was felt, and one that was a deep reminder to us how we have to support them with that level of professional support.
Sophie Nicolau, go ahead.
Hi, Emma. Great win the other night. Something that hit me hard while I was watching the game versus Colombia was the commentary team were talking about how much money the Colombia women are going to make from this tournament versus the US women's national team. And the US women's national team have been trailblazers in the sport on so many different levels. How do you, as a coach, because I know it means a lot to you, not only kind of what you manage on the pitch, but also off the pitch as well, managing the players from privilege versus, all of the other stuff that kind of comes with the game. I know that means a lot to you, and the fact that the women's game still has so much to do in this arena.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the ideal world, the level of support we offer our players is the same for everyone. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of work to be done in the game to level that up. And honestly, I've always empathized with the fact that so many top level players around the world still have to deal with significant barriers so they can perform at the best level. And in my position, I do what I can to control, obviously, our environments. I can't necessarily influence that in the world game, but I try to do it by providing the very best in the first instance to show the way and lead the way on that front. But I completely agree, we still have so much work to do in our game to make sure that the barrier to performances aren't there for every girl and female that plays our sport.
Chris-Ann, go ahead.
Hi, Emma. Krishan Edler with the Deseret News. I know it's just one start, but what are your expectations for Ali Sentnor going forward? And do you see her possibly being a long-time contributor to the team in the future?
Well, I'm just laughing at the Desert News. I mean, I've never heard of that coming from London.
It's Deseret. It's in Salt Lake City.
Then that's even better.
I'm sure they have a Desert News here. Yeah.
But I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Georgie said we get that a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit like listening to my assistant Stuart say Tara in American, which is Tara, and it sounds like Sarah. So all week, poor Tara has thought we've been calling her Sarah. So forgive me for not hearing correctly. Ali Centre, I think in the very short space of time I've worked with her, extremely diligent learner, great thinker. We talk about her attacking qualities, which we saw on full display the other night, but she had 19 pressure regains in those areas. And to do that at such a young age, I thought it was the best counter-pressing, back-pressing performance from our team since the Olympics. And she led the way with that. So I think she deserves huge credit for the way she's not afraid to do the dirty work. She's not afraid to get stuck in. She's not afraid to come back. And you have to do that to play in this team. That's a non-negotiable. However, she also has the ability to, while her natural tendencies are always inside, she can play outside. And sometimes when you've got so many top players, you have to find ones that might be able to do more than one role, and she's one of those. But what I really like about her is every time the ball goes into a wide space or a threatening area, she's always getting into the box. It's no coincidence the volume of opportunities she's on the end of. She has a nose for being in the right spaces at the right time, and I'm very excited to watch her journey grow with us.
Brian,
Thank you, Emma, and hard feelings.
Oh, okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
Brian, did you have one? Jen just texted me. I don't know what she's trying to say. All right, last one goes to Sean then. Go ahead, Sean.
Coach, during the game, there were a number of fouls being committed very early. They continued, particularly on Heaps. There was a little back and forth pregame. Did you have to say anything pregame? Did you have to continue saying things during the game to keep players calmer so they wouldn't compromise their positions for later in the tournament?
Well, one thing the group knows about what I'm looking for is what I mentioned to the group at the end of the game in the huddle, which was an appreciation for the way we didn't engage sometimes when we're unhappy with a decision, or whether that's the official not giving something or something the opponent has done in a tackle. Like, I appreciate that if you want to progress deep into tournaments, you have to have the discipline, even when things are not going the way you want them to. Like, you have to control the things you can control, and your approach to that and your attitude to that can be infectious in one way or the other. And if you don't want, so I always say this to the players, when one person starts yawning, it's inevitable the people around them start yawning, because that's what emotional contagion does. If we react to every negative decision in an overt way, then everybody else will start to do that, and then we lose control or we lose focus. And I really like the way we kept our focus the other night, regardless of whether they were fouls or not. Like, we just control our own attitude and our approach to it.
Sorry, last one does go to Brian. Go ahead.
Can you just talk about your strategy for the WT program and how that ties into the theme of SheBelieves?
Your overall strategy, yeah.
Our strategy, as I always said, like, I'm not taking on a program that hasn't come from a place of strength. It has. But what I'm able to do is develop out a program that puts the female lens at the heart of everything we do in a really, really profound way. So I think whether that's celebrating the unique things that we are about, or making sure we've got the right support in service or research wrapped around us in a way that works for us. And I think it ties really nicely with the motto of SheBelieves, and everyone knows I'm an advocate of, you need to see something to be it, or you need to see the subsequent role models in whatever respective position. It's not just about coaching and playing. It may be in broadcasting. I mean, how amazing we're watching 3 former captains deliver commentary and broadcasting around our game, which I don't even know if that's the first time at She Believes, if that has been the case. But I just feel this whole program has led the way globally on so many fronts. So I think it's our responsibility to continue to set the trends around women's football, and to do it with an event where, you know, the female athlete is at the centre of everything, like She Believes, is hand in glove. Perfect.